The electronic scoreboard glows red. 1X, then another, then another. Every Marine sniper on the range just failed. 100 targets, 0 perfect runs. The crowd murmurs. Dust drifts in the heat. The wind blows across the desert like a warning. Then, a quiet voice. "Can I borrow your rifle for a minute?" Every head turns. It's a woman. Blonde hair tied back. Simple combat shirt. No rank showing. No medals. Her name, Arya Cade, unknown to most of them. But not for long. A few Marines laugh. "This isn't Instagram," one jokes. Arya doesn't respond. She walks to the bench, calm, focused. She touches the windage knob. Click, just one click, precise, deliberate. No one understands what she's doing. Not yet. That morning, Arya had opened her locker with the same rhythm she'd had for years. Everything inside had a purpose: scope, dope book, paracord, chalk powder. Each tool in its place, her pulse, 55 beats per minute. Perfect control. She practiced box breathing. 4 seconds in, 4 hold, 4 out, 4 hold. Calm in chaos. Even off the range, she lived like a soldier built for silence. She sat where she could see every entrance. Checked reflections in her phone for blind spots. No jewelry. No distractions. Only awareness. Her mind worked like a scope. Steady, scanning, calculating. Back on the range, Gunnery Sergeant Mason watched her from behind his shades. 20 years of experience. Weathered face. Sharp eyes. He muttered, "Tourist day." Beside him, Corporal Diaz placed a magazine backward on the bench. A quiet test. A bit of mockery. Arya fixed it instantly. Didn't say a word. 90 seconds later, she had sorted a pile of brass shells by hand, by feel. No mistakes. The men exchanged glances. Not amateur, the sun climbed higher. The air shimmered. The 100-target gauntlet course stood waiting. A brutal test of skill, speed, and endurance. Targets from 200 to 900 meters. Winds changing every few seconds. 100 shots. One continuous string of fire. No time to breathe. 3 Marine teams had already failed. The best score so far? 67 hits. No one had ever cleared 100, not even the veterans. Colonel Hart appeared at the tower. His presence silenced the crowd. He nodded once to Mason. "Let her try." Mason clenched his jaw. He didn't like it. But orders were orders. Arya didn't seem to notice the tension. She studied the rifle. Not hers, Mason's. She handled it like she was meeting someone new. Listening, testing, feeling how it wanted to shoot. 2 clicks off, she murmured. Mason frowned. "What?" "You're 0, she said quietly. 2 clicks right. Yesterday's wind pushed you. You never readjusted," he froze. Because she was right, the gauntlet began. Arya planted a small paper wind feather in the sand. Watched how it fluttered, studied the mirage waves through her scope. Listened to the rhythm of the air. She made a micro-adjustment. Switched shoulders. Cross-eye dominant, a rare skill. Perfect cheek weld. 0 isn't a number, she whispered. "It's a conversation," Mason muttered under his breath. "If she misses the first shot, I'm calling it." Colonel Hart didn't blink. "And if she doesn't miss?" Mason had no answer. The first target popped up. 200 meters. Arya inhaled. 4 seconds in, hold, exhale, hold, press, bang, the target dropped. Green light on the board, no smile. No reaction. Next target, 300 meters. Wind shift 2 degrees. She adjusted by instinct, not by turret, hit then another. And another. Each shot clean, controlled, timed with her breath. And targets. 10 hits. The laughter stopped. The whispers started. By 20, even Mason was leaning forward. By 30, Diaz had lowered his phone. By 40, someone in the crowd whispered, "She's not shooting. She's negotiating with the wind." 50 targets down. 50 hits, sweat rolled down her temple. She blinked it away before it could reach her eye. Everything, planned, practiced, deliberate. Then came the long shots. 600, 700, 800 meters, each one harder, each one flawless. Colonel Hart's face changed, from skeptical to amazed. 70 hits, 80 hits, not one miss. The Marines who had mocked her earlier now stood silent, watching history happen. At 90 hits, someone whispered, "She's dancing with the wind." Target 99, hit one left, 900 meters. Final plate. 4 seconds visible, Arya waited. Didn't rush. Didn't fight. She let the wind speak first. Then one trigger pull. The sound of metal ringing across the desert, 100 hits. 100 targets, 0 misses, silence, pure heavy silence, the kind that only happens after something impossible. For 5 full seconds, no one moved. Then, cheers exploded across the range. The Marines who had laughed now shouted her name. Even Mason was speechless. His pride couldn't hide his respect. Colonel Hart climbed down from the tower, boots crunching on the gravel. He stopped beside Arya, who was calmly unloading the rifle. "Your rifle just performed better than it ever has," he said to Mason. Mason nodded slowly. "She corrected my 0, he admitted. She was right." Hart looked at Arya. "Explain." She set the rifle down gently as if thanking it. "Yesterday's wind was from the east. Today it's from the west." He adjusted but didn't bring it back. "I just listened longer than he did." The range was silent. Everyone still processing what they'd just seen. 100 targets, 100 hits. No misses. The scoreboard blinked. Green after green after green. It almost looked broken. But it wasn't. The range officer rushed to confirm the data. "Telemetry. Camera footage. Every hit center mass or better. 0 red marks. Perfect timing. Perfect control." He looked up, eyes wide. "It's clean," he said. "It's all real." The crowd erupted again. Cheers, applause, disbelief. Colonel Hart descended from the tower, his face a mix of pride and shock. He stopped in front of Arya. "Miss Cade, what you just did, no one has ever done it before." She just nodded once. "It's not about me," she said softly. "It's about the process." In the record room later, the officers reviewed everything again. Fluorescent lights, paperwork, signatures. Mason stood beside Arya, still shaking his head slowly. 2 clicks, he muttered. "That's all it was." Arya smiled faintly. "It's never just 2 clicks, Sergeant. It's knowing when to listen." He turned to her. "Teach me the 2-favor technique." Arya shook his hand. "It's not about numbers," she said. "It's about listening longer than you shoot." Word spread fast. By the next morning, the range felt different. Respect hung in the air. Diaz, the young Marine who had mocked her, approached carefully, holding his phone. He wasn't recording this time. "Ma'am," he said, "would you teach us?" Arya looked at him, then at Colonel Hart. Hart nodded. "As adjunct instructor," he said. "If you're willing." "What do you want to learn?" she asked. "Everything you just did." She smiled slightly. "Then start with this." She tore a page from her notepad and handed it to him. It said, "Box breathing, 4KR4, natural respiratory pause, favor versus dial, conserve motion. Practice until you owe the wind nothing." Diaz read it like scripture. The other Marines crowded around. They took photos, notes. Those words became doctrine. Mason read over Diaz's shoulder. "Conserve motion," he whispered. "That's what I've been missing." Arya nodded. "Every unnecessary movement costs you time. Time costs accuracy. Accuracy costs the mission." Her voice was calm, but it hit hard. "The lesson isn't just about shooting," she added. "It's about philosophy." A young lance corporal raised his hand. "Ma'am, did you ever miss?" Arya looked at him gently. "Every day." The room went silent. "Missing teaches you how to hit," she said, "but only if you listen to what the miss tells you." "What did your missus teach you?" he asked quietly. "That the rifle doesn't fail," she said. "The wind doesn't lie. Only my interpretation fails. So I learned to interpret better." Hart stepped forward, curious. "Walk us through target 73, he said. "That edge shot, how did you make that call?" Arya didn't even pause. "Wind was shifting between 4 and 6 mil. Mirage told me a lull was coming. I waited. Favored low side 2 mil because that target sat at the edge of my confidence zone. Better to edge into success than to force it." Mason nodded slowly. "You weren't reading the present," he said. "You were reading the future." Arya smiled. I was reading the rhythm. Wind has a rhythm. You just have to hear it. The Marines stood around her now, not as skeptics, but as students. No more jokes, no more pride, just quiet respect. Who taught you? Someone asked. Her eyes softened. Someone who believed shooting isn't about proving anything. It's about being at peace with the outcome before you pull the trigger. Hart's voice lowered. Where is he now? She hesitated. Gone, she said. But his lesson stayed. Hart handed her a small badge. Provisional instructor, it read. 2 weeks, he said. Show us what we're missing. Arya nodded. 2 weeks is plenty, she said. But I only need 1 minute to teach the most important thing. Hart tilted his head. And what's that? How to be quiet enough. To listen. I just listened longer than he did. The next morning, the Marines lined up again on the same range. Same wind, same dust, same course that had beaten them yesterday. But this time, the air felt different. There was no mockery, no arrogance, only focus. Because now they were training under the woman who made the impossible look easy, Arya Cade. She walked down the firing line, calm, observant, quiet. Every step measured, every word deliberate. She didn't shout like most instructors. She spoke softly, but everyone leaned in to hear. Don't fight the rifle, she said. Let it breathe with you. She stopped beside a Marine, touched his rifle barrel lightly. Feel that? She said. Your grip's too tight. You're choking it. Ease up. Let the rifle settle itself. She moved to the next shooter, adjusted a bipod by 3 centimeters. Forward balance, she said. Make gravity your ally, not your enemy. Another Marine. She taped the stock of his rifle with rough cloth. For texture, she explained. Control isn't about force, it's about contact. They nodded, absorbing every word. Every small detail mattered now. They ran the 50-target course, a half version of the Centurion string. Yesterday they missed half. Today something changed. The shots rang out in rhythm. No wasted movements, no panic. Just breathing, aiming, releasing. When the last shot echoed, they checked the board. Fewer misses, cleaner form, confidence instead of frustration. Mason watched from the tower, his arms crossed but his eyes proud. He was learning too. At lunch, Arya sat with the Marines, not above them, among them, eating the same food, listening. Diaz asked, How long did it take you to get this good? Arya smiled faintly. I'm not this good, she said. I'm just this practiced. What's the difference? Someone asked. Good implies a ceiling, she said. Practiced means you never stop. A young sergeant leaned in. But you shot perfect. That's the ceiling. Arya shook her head. Perfect is an accident. Repeatable is skill. Show me 10 perfect strings. Then we'll talk about mastery. The Marines exchanged looks. For the first time, they understood what real discipline looked like. Another Marine raised his hand. The 2-click correction. You made on Mason's rifle. How did you see that? Arya leaned back. I didn't see it. I heard it in the pattern of his misses. Pattern? 7 hits. 3 misses. All to the right. That's not random error. That's system error. System error means drift. Drift means correction. They stared at her, amazed. But you'd never seen him shoot before. I saw his score sheet, she said simply. That's enough. The afternoon session was about wind. Arya stood in front of them with a thermal scope and rangefinder. She pointed at the horizon. The wind isn't one thing, she said. It's layers. Ground wind, mid-range wind, target wind. They don't always agree. You have to decide which one matters most. For your shot. She had them watch the mirage shimmer. She had them feel the cold side of their face to sense wind direction. She taught them to listen, not just see. When the wind shifts, don't fight it, she said. Flow with it. The rifle and the air want to help you. Stop treating them like enemies. By day 3, the results spoke for themselves. The same Marines who barely hit 67 were now clearing 70 to 80%. Confidence replaced tension. Control replaced panic. Mason approached her during a break. You changed my entire program in 3 days, he said. Why? Because your program was built on fighting, she replied. Fighting is exhausting. Cooperation is sustainable. Cooperation with what? He asked. With everything, she said. With physics, with the wind, with the rifle's rhythm, with your own breath. She looked at him. Fighting costs energy. Energy costs accuracy. Mason nodded slowly. I taught them to dominate the environment, he said quietly. You're teaching them to join it? Arya smiled. Domination is temporary. Partnership is permanent. By day 5, Colonel Hart called Arya into his office. A small, quiet space, formal tone, big decision. The Commandant wants to know, he said. Would you consider a permanent instructor position? Arya blinked. What would that mean? Full rank, full benefits, your own training program. Her first question wasn't about the title. It wasn't about pay. Would I still get to shoot? She asked. Hart almost smiled. Yes, he said. As much as you want. She thought for a moment. I'll finish the 2 weeks first, she said. Then decide. Hart frowned. It's already working, Cade. You've proven it. I want to be sure, she said quietly. Temporary success isn't success. Sustainable change is. Hart nodded. That was the difference between a shooter and a teacher. As she turned to leave, Hart called out one more question. Cade, why did you really ask to borrow that rifle? She stopped, turned back, her eyes calm, steady. Because silence is louder than failure, she said. I wanted them to hear what silence sounds like. And then she walked away. 2 weeks later, same base, same desert, but everything had changed. The Marines no longer raced through drills. They flowed through them. No panic, no noise, just precision and rhythm. Arya watched from the tower, arms crossed, calm pride in her eyes. Each shot echoed like music. Controlled, timed, alive. Colonel Hart stood beside her. He didn't say anything at first. Just watched. When the last target fell, he spoke quietly. They finally sound like you, he said. Arya smiled faintly. They sound like themselves, she replied. I just helped them listen. Later that afternoon, the entire unit gathered on the range. Every Marine who had once doubted her stood tall, now her students. The Commandant arrived by convoy. Dust rose in slow motion as the vehicle stopped. He stepped out, old, steady, proud. He looked at Arya. So you're the one, he said. Arya saluted. Yes, sir. He glanced at the range scoreboard. New record, 10 shooters. 10 perfect clears, that's never happened, he said. You changed something real here. Arya shook her head. The wind changed them, sir. I just made them notice. The Commandant smiled. He handed her a small case. Inside, a medal, silver and black shaped like a scope reticle. For excellence in marksmanship training, he said, and for reminding us what mastery really means. Arya looked down at it. Beautiful, heavy, but she didn't pin it on. She turned and handed it to Sergeant Mason. He blinked, surprised. I didn't earn this, he said. Yes, you did, she replied softly. You listened. Then she handed him a folded piece of paper. The 1-minute lesson, it read on top. He opened it. There were only 3 lines. Breathe until your thoughts slow down. Don't fight the rifle. Let it live with you. When you can hear the wind answer back, you're ready. He folded it again quietly. No one said a word. That night, Arya stood alone at the edge of the range. The desert wind brushed her face. The stars stretched endless above. She closed her eyes, listened. The same sound that had followed her all her life. The hum of silence between breaths. Her mentor's voice echoed in memory. You can't control the wind, Arya. You can only learn its language, she smiled. Now they speak it too, she whispered. A week later, Arya was gone. No goodbye ceremony, no public farewell, just an empty locker. Inside it, 1 brass casing and a note. Every storm has a rhythm. Find yours. Mason found it. He never told anyone what it said. But he kept that casing in his pocket for the rest of his career. Years passed. New recruits came. New instructors too. But every Marine who trained on that range learned one quiet ritual. Before their first shot, they'd close their eyes. 4 seconds in. 4 hold, 4 out. 4 hold box breathing. The Cade method. They didn't shout. Didn't rush. They just listened. Because somewhere in their training, someone always said, if you can hear the wind answer back, you're ready. And far away, on some forgotten ridge, in the middle of another silent storm, a single shot echoes, clean, sharp, true. The kind of shot that only comes from someone who learned how to listen longer than they shoot.